Most people believe distraction is a personal weakness. They assume their inability to focus stems from laziness, poor discipline, or some internal flaw. This belief is comforting because it places responsibility entirely on the individual. Yet it is also misleading. Distraction is not a moral failure. It is not a lack of character. It is a predictable response of the human mind to an environment that is constantly designed to fragment attention. The modern world is not structured to support deep thought. It is structured to capture it. The brain, when exposed to endless streams of information, adapts in ways that are subtle, gradual, and mostly invisible to the person experiencing them. This adaptation is not a flaw, it is a survival mechanism, though one that produces consequences few fully recognize. For the vast majority of human history, attention was scarce and precious. It was directed towards survival, relationships, learning, and reflection. Depth of thought was possible because the number of competing stimuli was small. Today, the situation is radically different. Smartphones, social media, notifications, endless news cycles, video streams, and constant messaging fragment attention into countless micro-moments. Each of these micro-moments calls for some form of cognitive or emotional response. The mind responds automatically, switching rapidly from one source of stimulation to another. This state feels normal, it feels unavoidable, and therein lies the danger. When constant stimulation becomes normal, the individual rarely recognizes the conditioning at work. The brain no longer expects rest, it no longer values sustained reflection. Instead, it operates in a state of perpetual alertness, scanning for novelty, reward, or interruption. The attention economy, which underlies much of modern technology, does not primarily sell products or services, it sells time and focus. Every platform, every app, every notification, every algorithm is calibrated to maximize engagement. The longer attention remains captured, the more valuable it becomes. Importantly, this system does not rely on force, it relies on psychological reinforcement. Small doses of novelty, unpredictability, reward, and emotional stimulation train the mind to seek the next interruption almost reflexively. Over weeks and months, people begin to experience restlessness when they are not being stimulated. Silence, stillness, or long periods of uninterrupted thought start to feel uncomfortable. The mind has been trained to crave input, and it interprets absence of input as a void, even a threat. As this conditioning deepens, cognitive patterns shift. Thoughts become shorter, reflection becomes arduous, the mind reacts swiftly but contemplates slowly, if at all. Emotional processing is altered, decisions are often made on impulse rather than insight. Even the simplest experiences of boredom or quietness feel unbearable. Many adults describe their lives as busy but unproductive, or anxious without reason, unaware that the root cause is not moral weakness, lack of willpower, or personal failing, but the fragmentation of attention itself. In essence, the mind has been trained not to dwell, not to focus, and not to experience depth naturally. The consequences extend to emotional and psychological well-being. When attention is continuously divided, emotional experiences are also fragmented. Feelings remain partially unprocessed, leading to a constant sense of unease. Mental noise builds, creating subtle but pervasive tension that many mistake for stress or general dissatisfaction. This state fosters restlessness, a perpetual need for external engagement, and a fragile tolerance for stillness. People fill their time with micro-stimuli because the brain interprets quiet as discomfort, not as opportunity. They seek novelty compulsively because depth feels unfamiliar. This is a modern condition that affects virtually every adult who regularly interacts with digital devices. The environment reinforces rapid consumption over depth, speed over reflection, and reaction over contemplation. Workplaces demand constant responsiveness, messaging apps enforce immediate attention, and social media rewards brevity, novelty, and virality. As a result, the modern adult mind is conditioned to react rather than reflect. Internal life, once rich with observation and insight, becomes fragmented and shallow. The capacity to focus, which once emerged naturally, now requires conscious effort. Emotional stability and clarity, which once arose from reflection, are now cultivated deliberately because the environment undermines them continuously. Technology itself is not inherently harmful. Tools are neutral. The problem arises when exposure is unconscious and unmonitored. The mind, designed to respond to stimuli, adapts automatically to the environment it inhabits. When attention is shaped externally without awareness, self-direction fades. People feel pulled rather than guided, occupied rather than intentional. The first step toward regaining control is awareness. Awareness interrupts automatic patterns, allowing individuals to observe how their attention is being manipulated. With this recognition comes subtle but profound freedom. The mind begins to reorient naturally, seeking depth and focus once more, not through extreme discipline, but through understanding. Reclaiming attention is not a one-time event. It is a process. Small intervals of quiet, deliberate focus and reflection gradually retrain neural pathways. One learns to tolerate stillness without discomfort. One notices how frequently the mind seeks stimulation and over time chooses differently. This is not about escaping technology entirely, but about engaging consciously with it. Awareness restores the ability to prioritize, to concentrate, and to experience meaning. The act of reclaiming focus is itself a profound psychological intervention, with effects that ripple across emotional life, decision-making, and personal insight. In the modern world, there is not need for more information. Information is abundant and cheap. What is rare is the capacity to remain present long enough to process it meaningfully. Sustained attention allows for depth, clarity, and insight. Depth allows for discernment. Insight allows for intentionality. Protecting attention is an act of quiet resistance in a system designed to fragment it. It is a choice with far-reaching consequences, affecting not only productivity, but emotional well-being, personal growth, and sense of meaning. In reclaiming attention, one reclaims the internal landscape of life itself. Even subtle recognition of attention manipulation changes perception. One notices patterns previously invisible. One recognizes the ways social media, messaging, and digital media exploit automatic behavior. One begins to question habits that seemed natural. This is not discomfort, it is awareness. Awareness allows choice. Choice restores a sense of agency. Agency restores depth. Depth restores meaning. In a world designed for perpetual distraction, reclaiming attention is a revolutionary act that feels small but has profound consequences for mental clarity, emotional balance, and life satisfaction. In practice, this means structuring time deliberately. It means creating space for uninterrupted thought, reflection, and calm. It means observing internal reactions without automatic compliance. It means understanding that the discomfort of silence is a conditioned response, not an objective threat. Over time, the mind learns to tolerate, even enjoy, stillness. Focus returns gradually, not by force, but by awareness and repetition. Even small changes, like noticing attention drift during reading or pausing before reaching for a phone, can compound over weeks and months, rebuilding the brain's natural capacity for depth. A mind capable of depth is not easily swayed by external pressures. It sees patterns, understands consequences, and engages with life intentionally. In contrast, a distracted mind is highly reactive, constantly pulled by external stimuli, and rarely reflects on experience. In an economy built on capturing attention, cultivating focus becomes a subtle but profound form of resistance. The capacity to direct one's own mental life is not a flashy skill. It is an internal sovereignty that allows one to navigate life with clarity, calm, and insight. This is not a promise of perfection. It is a method for reclaiming psychological and emotional territory that was lost to fragmentation. Ultimately, the modern world is abundant with noise, yet starved for minds capable of reflection. Information is infinite, attention is finite. Protecting it is not optional if one desires clarity, intentionality, and depth. The process is gradual and requires patience, but the payoff is profound. A mind that is quiet, focused, and resilient. It is a mind capable of seeing the world clearly, understanding oneself fully, and engaging with meaning rather than distraction. In a time designed to fragment the mind, attention becomes the ultimate currency, and reclaiming it may be the most significant act of psychological resistance available.